Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. This is a webinar that Spark Crowdfunding are hosting, obviously, for four very exciting companies who are either live on site with us at the moment or who will be coming on site with us very, very soon. We will be starting off with Michael in a couple of minutes from Motarme. Just before we go into that, though, there is a Q&A option on the website, so please do fire your questions into us if you like through that mechanism, and we will pose those to the investees, the companies, at the end of their 10-minute session before we go on to the next. So please do ask your questions away. All of the companies that we've got with us today are all have already been received investment from Enterprise Ireland. They're all Enterprise Ireland companies, either at CSF or HPSU level, and they're all EIS approved. So you will, as an investor, get 40% back on your investment if and when you decide to invest. So without further ado, we'll go straight into Michael. So Michael, if you can unmute yourself, please, if you would, and also, if you could introduce yourself and hopefully share your screen as well. Thanks very much, Michael. Away you go.
Okay, just going to share now. So can you let me know if you can see that, Chris?
Yeah, that's perfect. If you go into presentation mode, that should be good then.
Yeah, just going in now. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Away you go.
All right, so I'm Michael White, Managing Director at Motarme. And we software system for sales prospecting and sales lead generation for business-to-business companies. We've identified a great market, we have some really strong reference customers, and we're backed by Enterprise Ireland, as Chris mentioned. And we're now seeking to raise €150,000 to seize the opportunity that we've identified. And raising that €150 will unlock a matching 150,000 from Enterprise Ireland. So the problem that we solve, business-to-business companies need to generate a steady stream of new sales leads. But over the past decade, they've adopted a lot of technologies to generate more leads, ranging from inbound marketing to social media tools. These new tactics tend to work better for lower value sales that are usually targeting a single individual and a buyer. However, in business-to-business sales, high value sales deals are always involve a group of people on the buyer side. It's not individuals, but groups of people. Typically 4 to 8 would be involved in a buyer decision. Additionally, companies typically see peaks and troughs in their lead generation. So for example, someone goes to a trade show, they pick up a spreadsheet of email addresses, and that causes a flurry of activity, and things quieten down again until there's a panic when the sales pipeline is suddenly empty and things start up again. Currently, lead generation in B2B companies tends to focus on volume and not so much on the outcome. So marketing units quite often think they're doing a great job because they're generating loads of web inquiries, but sales teams are driven nuts because the web inquiries are poor quality and poor fit for what they need. And another problem with all of these new tools, sales messaging tends to be inconsistent. So target buyers will see an email message saying one thing, and they'll see a display ad that says something slightly different, and they then see some social media posts that say something different again. So there's an inconsistency there. And sales teams, because there's been such an increased adoption of various tools, there's more noise out there, and sales teams are finding it difficult to cut through that noise to get through to the senior executives, which you need to get through to for larger opportunities. So this means that today, companies, because of all those reasons, they're struggling to land bigger deals because they're using tools and tactics that weren't designed for enterprise-size deals. They were designed to target individuals, not groups of buyers. So Motarme's solution is focused on what they call accounts-based sales. We focus on groups of buyers at a target account, not just individuals. And our solution helps you to identify the best companies to target, and then the individuals at those companies that you should try and communicate with. And then we also help you plan and execute a campaign to connect with the people at those companies in the most effective way. So that campaign will execute across multiple channels as well. It'll be email, phone, display ads, and direct mail. So a combination of tactics to get through to those buyer teams at the larger accounts. And we'll make sure that it delivers a consistent message each time. So this helps you focus your sales efforts on your best targets, you guys here at the top of the pyramid. It automates tedious steps that salespeople typically become involved in, such as gathering information and verifying contacts off websites. And it drives a consistent message to everyone in the buying group at your target high-value accounts. And that then enables you to target larger opportunities. So this means you're making better use of your sales team's time, helping them focus on the biggest opportunities and making sure they're not wasting time on doing low-value activities that are helping push deals across the line. So in terms of proof points, we're targeting B2B software, technology, and services companies. So we have some great customers like PMAC, Technical, Westbourne Global IT. We're generating revenue, and our software system is live and in operation. And we've been self-funding to date, apart from an initial CSF funding from Enterprise Ireland of 50k. In terms of the market size, this is a big and rapidly growing market. So it was $600 million a few years back, 2 years back. It's forecast to reach $1.19 billion by 2021, with a growth rate of 12.9%. The market's driven by an increasing focus generally on online sales technologies among business-to-business companies. And actually this is topical because the current coronavirus crisis will further drive companies to explore new ways of selling and remote sales, now that trade shows and in-person sales visits are being restricted or curtailed because of the travel bans that are in place. Even though those will lift later on this year, hopefully, a lot of companies are now focusing more on how do we make these sales, how do we do the sales lead prospecting while these travel bans are in place. In terms of competitive positioning, most of the account-based sales sector is relatively early, and there are a number of account-based marketing and account-based sales companies out there, such as Engagio, Jabmo, Terminus, and Sixth Sense. Most of the early stage companies that came into this area focused on two areas. They focused on predictive analytics, which is where they use something called intent data. They scoured the web, they scoured the internet to find information that indicates somebody's intent data, and they use that to predictively identify companies that could be of interest to you. So that's predictive analytics using intent data. Or they focused very much on using display ads and retargeting. So they would show ads online to prospective clients. Now, there's a couple of problems with that initial focus. There's a low correlation between intent data and target individuals actually taking an action. And likewise, there's a low correlation with display ads when they're applied to business. Also, while the systems may identify accounts, they usually don't help with the actual execution of a campaign. So they'll help you maybe identify target companies, but they're not so great then at actually executing the series of steps you need in order to make contact with those companies. You often have to use third-party tools to execute a campaign. So in contrast, Motarme helps you both with finding the target contacts and the accounts, and then we actually execute the sales campaign for you. We can execute across email, ads, direct mail, and phone. We're also developing a new machine learning component that will provide further differentiation. It will analyze previous results and help to use that to optimize future steps in sales prospecting campaigns. For go-to-market, we're focusing, as I mentioned, on business-to-business software, technology, and services companies in the 5 million to 100 million revenue range. We usually sell to sales directors or marketing directors. We focused initially on Ireland, obviously, as a starting point, but we've now signed up our first customers in the UK and in Europe, in Germany actually, and we plan to target the US next. We've got an initial pilot with a US-based company. The business model is standard software as a service subscription model. Customers pay an annual or a quarterly recurring subscription. There are 3 levels, starting at 10k per year up to about 20k per year, and we're looking at ways to increase that. And there are also additional charges for increased contact volumes and a larger number of accounts. We've got a foundation of 15 licensed customers at the moment, and we are forecasting a total of 28 customers in 2020. And we're forecasting sales of 1 million by the end of 2021, start of 2022, based on achieving a target of 76 customers by the end of 2021. And then this would grow to over 4 million and 280 customers by 2023. And we believe those numbers are achievable based on reasonable assumptions of doubling the number of customers in the first couple of years and so on. So there's an achievable progression in contact numbers. So we want to raise 150,000 through this Spark campaign. And as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, this will in turn unlock a further €150,000 from Enterprise Ireland, because we're a HPSU Enterprise Ireland client. We plan to allocate about 40% of that to creating a sales and marketing team to help us accelerate sales and target the US. We'll also allocate about 40% into implementing some innovative new product features we'd like, including that machine learning component I mentioned. And the remaining 20% will be used for building out operational elements to support faster growth. And as Chris also mentioned, we've been approved by revenue for EIAS. So that means any investor who invests €1,000 gets 40% back. They get 40% tax relief back. So to wrap up, businesses need to generate a steady flow of sales, and they need a solution like ours to help. We've identified a great market, the account-based sales market, and we've proven that there's demand for our solution in the sense that we've already signed up customers. We've also shown that we can deliver both sales and working technology. Raising 150,000 in this campaign will unlock that extra 150,000 from Enterprise Ireland, which will enable us to deliver rapid growth over the coming 3 years. We have exciting plans for the next 3 years. This is a big and growing market, and we plan to use innovative technologies like machine learning and new ways to help our customers succeed faster. Your investment will both help us to build a successful and fast-growing company and also deliver strong returns to you. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Michael. Very interesting indeed. Perhaps you can unshare your screen now, if possible, and kind of increase the bandwidth that you'll have as well. And we've got a couple of questions that have come in. I'm going to ask Fergal to come in and actually ask these. Fergal's our head of new business. He's just started with us just a couple of weeks ago. And so, Fergal, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Excellent. You've got some questions there, I believe.
Yes, so I just have one from Connor here. Very good presentation, Michael. How much does it cost to acquire a client, and what is the customer lifetime value?
Okay, so we use our own system to acquire customers. Our customer acquisition cost, we think, is currently around €500 or less. And because at the moment we've got 16 customers live on the system, we've got a small block of data to calculate a CAC. So I think that figure probably needs to be recalibrated later this year. In terms of lifetime value, the average value per customer per year currently is about €12,000 per year. So if you say LTVs are usually calculated at 3 times that, so that means the average LTV would be 36,000. That's correct, yeah.
Excellent. I just have another question here, just from our attendees as well. May I ask, have you revised your expected sales figures based on the current COVID-19?
That's a good question. We're actually looking at those now, so we're not revising them down at the moment because, kind of bearing out what I said during the presentation, we've had inquiries coming in. So at the start of March, like every company, we would have been concerned. We've actually not had that much of an impact on our Q1 sales. So we were up around the 50 grand mark by the end of Q1. And we've had inquiries coming in over the last 3 weeks that suggest to us that what I've said is correct, that there's a focus by some technology companies to figure out. So to give a concrete example, one customer who'd started a 3-month trial has extended throughout the rest of the year because they're switching their trade show budget from trade shows to us. So obviously, this is a crisis. Nobody's quite sure how it's going to pan out. We will be looking at our sales figures in mid-May to see how it's going, but we think there's a chance that it could actually work in our favor.
Very good. And another just quick one here as well. We have lots of questions actually for you, Michael. I'm just moderating them here. How long is the lead time to acquire a client?
The lead time to acquire a client can vary. So we always say to our customers, the average B2B sales cycle can run somewhere between 3 months to 6 months to 9 months. With us, it does vary. I'd say that on average, it takes about 3 months from initial contact through to some conversations through to making the decision. But there are examples. We've had some decisions made within a week of first contact. We've had some cases where a client waited over a year from various interactions before they made the decision. And actually that brings us to one of our strengths. We often say to our clients, the secret is to be politely persistent. We're politely persistent as well. If someone doesn't want to make a decision within the first 3 months, we stick around and maintain contact.
Excellent. And just the last one to wrap up, Michael, and to just let everyone else know that we will be taking notes of your questions as well, and we can deliver to Michael directly for a direct response. From Marshall, I just see one here. To what extent do you augment versus replace existing sales enablement tools, like CRM, etc.?
Well, see, we were not a CRM, so we plug into the CRM system. We integrate into Salesforce, for example, and we integrate into some other technologies like MailChimp, Google Maps, Google Analytics. So we can provide a one-stop, for account-based sales campaigns, we can provide a one-stop shop. We can execute everything for you, but we can also interact and augment your existing tool set. Most of our clients will have a CRM. Some of them will be using something like HubSpot. Some of them will be using an email marketing tool as well. None of that's an issue. We can coexist with the tools they have.
Excellent. Very good.
Very good. Okay, as Fergal just mentioned there, we will collate all of these questions. We'll give them over to Michael, and Michael can answer them offline, and we'll send them out as a kind of a document later on today with answers to all of the attendees. So, so if your question wasn't answered there, sorry about that, but obviously we are tight for time. So, so Michael, thank you very much indeed. That was a great presentation, great answers as well, of course, and of course you'll see that Michael is live on site at the moment, and has already managed to get 30% of his ask of 150 already. So, which is great news, and well done for that. We've now got over 70 people online at the moment, so that is a great result as well, and thanks very much for everybody for attending. But what I'll do now, without further ado, if Michael, you can switch off your video and your mic, I'll hand it over to Liam Darling from Halo SOS.